Raditz locks Gohan in a space pod because he won't stop crying. Goku suggests to Piccolo that they try to sneak up on Raditz, but Piccolo says they have no choice but to attack head-on due to the device over Raditz's eye that locates power. Raditz gets a bit of a scare when his device picks up a 710 reading from Gohan. Raditz assumes it must be malfunctioning until he also picks up the battle powers of Goku and Piccolo, both correctly in the 300s. So was it not malfunctioning? The battle of Goku and Piccolo versus Raditz begins, and it's a very good one in my opinion. First off, it gains massive points in my book for actually being a fight where multiple heroes face off against one villain. Up until this point, and even more so later on, characters will insist on fighting one-on-one either because of the reasoning that no other character besides this one has a chance of keeping up with those fast movements, or because honor must be satisfied. Good grief. I know this series has a lot of its roots in tournament-style matches, but when you are fighting for the sake of the world, or in this case the sake of your son, all bets are off. Take the pragmatic solution, get all your friends together and start curb stomping. Before the fight even begins, Goku and Piccolo cut to the chase and remove their weighted clothes. It seems Piccolo has adopted that training method as well, and it shows that while Piccolo may have just been standing around for the past 5 years, he has still been keeping up with Goku. And while this fight does end up centering around a super awesome, more powerful than anything we've ever seen before move, it's a very strategic battle. Raditz is stronger than Goku and Piccolo, ridiculously stronger. They can barely do anything at all. Within moments, Raditz fires blasts at both of them, one of which manages to sever Piccolo's arm. Rather than attempt to regrow it though, like last time, he decides to break out his new move, the Makanko Sappo, or literally, Demon Kill Light Pierce Cannon. Now I get why Piccolo's been gone for 5 years. 1. He developed a technique to kill Goku that takes 5 minutes to charge, and I doubt Goku is going to just stand there and let Piccolo hit him with it, unless Piccolo invites him to a tournament, but barring that it's pretty useless. 2. It probably took him 5 years to come up with a name that freaking long. However, in this case, with Goku around to keep Raditz occupied for the necessary time, it might actually be a decent trump card. But that's assuming Goku can do that for 5 minutes without dying when the two of them together couldn't keep up with him. Goku doesn't do a great job, but when he jumps in the air to launch a Kamehameha, Raditz is surprised because Goku's battle power jumps to 924, and Piccolo's with his move is over 1,000. The Earthlings have the ability to manipulate their battle powers depending on what they do, which is a skill Raditz apparently does not possess. So while under normal fighting circumstances they don't stand a chance, they do have moves they can pull out to even the odds, and this is something I like quite a bit about this arc and the next. While the villains often have a huge power lead over the heroes do have this kind of advantage which saves them time and time again. It also establishes the important precedent that while having a device to detect powers is useful, it's not infallible. It does all seem to tie in with Popo's teachings about sensing ki and suppressing ki, since a battle power is simply a numerical readout of one's ki. And when the series is going to continuously give most of the advantages to the alien races, it's nice that the technologically superior aliens would be lacking in the spiritual training our heroes on Earth, with all of its deities and mythologies, possess in abundance. However, despite this scare, Raditz is still able to catch the Kamehameha and mostly dodge the Makanko Sappo. But when Raditz steps in to counter Piccolo, Goku finally finds his opening and grabs Raditz's tail, telling Piccolo to charge up his attack once more. However, a motif of this arc is who Goku is in relation to his people, what his worth is, what his values are. So when Raditz begs for mercy and promises to leave, Goku acquiesces and drops the tail. Raditz, by contrast, does not hesitate to seize upon this perceived moment of weakness and cripples and taunts Goku over his softness and inability to be a true warrior like a Saiyan is supposed to be. However, there is one more player in this battle who up until this point hadn't shown his face. That 710 battle power Raditz noted earlier? It's Gohan, who suddenly bursts forth from the space pod, raises his battle power to 1307, and smashes Raditz in the chest something fierce. Unfortunately, as soon as the attack is past, Gohan's battle power drops to 1, and he seems to have no memory he even did anything. Raditz surmises it's tied to his emotions and prepares to kill the child, but just like before, this leaves him open to Goku grabbing him from behind. Piccolo asks the obvious question of why Goku didn't just grab his tail again, to which Goku gives this very odd reply. He says that Raditz could remove his own tail if he wanted to. I've always found that so weird. First off, how would Goku even know that? Yes, his own tail snapped off back when he was fighting the Elder Gohan, but that always read to me like an accident. Perhaps because Gohan had been picking him up by his tail and slamming him into the ground. In fact, the moment it happens is when Gohan is swinging him through the air, so it seemed to me it was something that Gohan caused to happen, not Goku. But 2, if that is the case, why did Goku even bother to grab his tail in the first place? And why did Raditz resort to begging for his life if he could have gotten out of it? Which takes me back to my earlier point. Even forgoing the assumption that Raditz wouldn't have trained his tail, why is Goku so confident in a plan that has such a glaring and easily exploitable weakness that even he randomly decides not to use it anymore? The real answer is that it's an excuse line to justify what's about to happen, because Piccolo is going to charge his Makanko Sappo one more time, and, for the first time in 5 years, Goku's going to just stand there and let Piccolo hit him with it. But really, this is one of those voodoo shark moments. Voodoo shark is a term named for a passage in the novelization of Jaws 4 that, in an attempt to explain why the shark in the movie is targeting the Brody family, says there's a voodoo curse. Basically, it's an explanation that raises more questions than it answers. Goku could have just grabbed Raditz with no explanation, and we could have assumed that in the heat of the moment to save his son, he just screwed up. The Makanko Sappo really is one of the coolest looking attacks in the series, all drill-like, and it certainly does the job, going straight through both Raditz and Goku. Goku even takes it with a smile on his face, knowing he saved the day. Even Raditz is impressed with his younger brother willing to die like that. But Piccolo makes the mistake of gloating to Raditz that Son Goku most likely won't be dead for long, that they have these Dragon Balls that can grant any wish, and Goku's friends will most likely just bring him back to life. Big mistake, because Raditz's device is also a transmitter, and he correctly surmises that the other 2 remaining Saiyans are listening and will come to Earth within the year to make a wish. However, he incorrectly surmises that they will give a crap about bringing him back to life. In fact, Vegeta and Nappa, one named after the Saiyan planet and the other after a type of cabbage, who are busy eating the indigenous life forms of whatever planet they're on, decide on immortality for themselves so they can enjoy combat forever. As they head to Earth, Vegeta muses over Gohan and the evidence that breeding Earthlings and Saiyans together seems to produce a particularly strong hybrid. Nappa asks, what, like some kind of Super Saiyan? And suggests that maybe they can repopulate the Saiyan race by making more of them. But Vegeta says that's stupid, and he's stupid for thinking it, and to take that crazy made-up name he totally pulled out of his ass and shove it right back up there where it belongs, so it can't be brought back in a totally different context later in the series. By this time, Bluma and the others have reached the battlefield and are there to comfort Goku in his last few moments. And then, Son Goku dies. Yeah, very early in this arc, the main character dies. That's pretty powerful. Certainly shocking. And it opens up the story for all kinds of possibilities. But it turns out that's not just possibilities for the other characters, but also for Goku's character, because when he dies, his body disappears. Piccolo deduces that Kami-sama had something to do with it, and he's right. The next time we see Goku, he's in Ano-yo, the Otherworld, or the Afterlife, at a welcome station. Thanks once again for moving the extra L that was originally there. He's in the presence of Enma-daio, or Great King Enma, the Judge of the Dead, with God as his advocate. Toriyama's depiction of the afterlife is the theme park version of Japanese mythology. There, Enma is also the Judge of the Dead, which is why he often appears in fictionalized forms. But he comes from Buddhism, where in other countries he's known as Yama. Buddhism in turn had adapted him from Hinduism. In Dragon Ball, he's served by many Oni, or ogres, just like in mythology. In Journey to the West, the afterlife is portrayed in a way similar to Chinese bureaucracy. Toriyama modernizes the concept a bit so that Enma and his ogres dress similar to modern-day Japanese salarymen. Instead of wearing animal skins, the ogres wear tiger print pants and ties. So while this arc does focus more heavily on space fantasy aspects, the more traditional fantasy elements definitely get a nice expansion here. I guess Toriyama realized this was a big deal, or at least a place that needed to be, for lack of a better term, as full of life as possible, because he drew this entire chapter in full color. It's the only other chapter in the entire series aside from the first Dr. Slump crossover chapter that does this. It's explained that all dead come here, and that even Raditz came here to be judged and was sent to hell. Goku is quite impressed that Enma was able to easily subdue him, but when you think about it, it's not that impressive. Goku's only standing here because God specifically took his body to the afterlife. Most other people just arrive as spirits with no body. We have it explained much later that only exceptional people get to keep their bodies. Like that guy. That guy is awesome! The reason God has brought Goku here is to ask Enma permission to allow Goku to skip heaven entirely and traverse an extraordinarily long and dangerous path called the Serpentine Road to train with Kaio, the god said to be above all the other gods in the universe. Yeah, we'll see how long that sticks. In his estimation, it's the only way Earth will have a chance against the coming Saiyan threat. The joke here is that Kami-sama is constantly terrified that Goku's inability to talk politely is going to offend Enma, but Enma in turn seems more put out with God than with Goku. A helpful ogre drives Goku to the Serpentine Road and warns him not to fall off because hell is beneath the clouds, and he'll be unable to escape should he wind up there. Well, that's fascinating. What a danger! After all the good Goku has done, all it would take is one slip-up and he could end up in hell. I mean, that transcends storytelling and enters the realm of our theological philosophies. When you get right down to it, couldn't it be argued that we are all just one slip-up away from hell? That the road to hell is paved with good intentions? In the Judeo-Christian religions, a serpent was the original deceiver of man, and yet for Goku, a serpent is the only thing keeping him from entering hell. This path Goku is on is going to be the ultimate struggle between good and evil. I tip my hat to you, Mr. Toriyama, for making me think, and I can't wait to see how this ominously foreboding statement is going to pay off. I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. I'm honestly amazed I made it this far. Yeah, this is never going to come up ever, ever, ever again. Why, Toriyama? Why did you even write this? Have you never heard of Chekhov's gun? Has my audience ever heard of Chekhov's gun? Okay, let's get down and dirty with dramatic theory here. Back in the 19th century, there was a Russian author and playwright named Anton Chekhov, who once famously stated, "If you say in the first chapter that there is a rifle hanging on the wall, in the second or third chapter it absolutely must go off. If it's not going to be fired, it shouldn't be hanging there." In other words, everything in a story has to have a point. Otherwise, not only is it wasting time, it's going against our own expectations. And don't get me wrong, playing against expectations can be clever and startling. Calling attention to a potential danger only to do nothing with it is the author setting up our expectations only to leave us hanging. We keep waiting and waiting for some kind of payoff only for it to never come, and then we wonder why it was even brought up in the first place. Why is it distracting us from what we're supposed to be focusing on? And believe me, we need a lot of focus for Goku here. Otherwise, we'd never be able to keep up with the fact that all Goku does for the next 6 months is run! Nothing happens to him! There's no danger, there's no adventure, there's no character growth, he just runs. So really, the threat of hell seems especially looming because you expect something to happen to him. Surely he's going to fall into hell this week. Nope, he just keeps running. Maybe this week? Nope, still running. This week? Still running. This week? No, still running. This week? More running. This week? Yeah, as if.